Pat Garrett and Billy the Kid. These names are forever linked in the annals of the American West. One was a determined lawman, the other, a notorious outlaw. Their intertwined story is far more than a simple historical account. It has blossomed into a legend, a tale that is told and retold, generation after generation. The legend of Billy the Kid is potent. He was a young man, an outlaw who roamed the New Mexico territory. To some he was a folk hero, a champion of the oppressed. To others he was a dangerous criminal, a cold-blooded killer. His daring escape from the Lincoln County Jail, a feat of cunning and audacity, only added fuel to his growing mythic status. Pat Garrett's role in this drama is central and complex. He was the man who, according to official accounts, brought an end to the Kid's reign. The fascination with Pat Garrett and Billy the Kid endures. Please give this video a thumbs up, subscribe to our channel, and thank you for watching. Patrick Floyd Jarvis Garrett entered this world in Chambers County, Alabama. The date was June 5, 1850. He was by birth a Southern boy. Seeking new beginnings and opportunities, his family relocated to a plantation in Claiborne Parish, Louisiana. It was here that young Garrett grew up. He learned the essential skills of a frontiersman. The powerful call of the West beckoned to Pat Garrett. In 1869, as a young man of 19, he left Louisiana behind. His journey first took him to the sprawling plains of Texas. There he found work as a cowboy. Later, he transitioned to becoming a buffalo hunter. By the year 1878, Pat Garrett had made his way to Fort Sumner in the New Mexico territory. He initially found employment as a bartender. He also tried his hand at ranching. Garrett was a physically imposing figure. He stood over 6 feet 4 inches tall. In November of 1880, he was elected sheriff of Lincoln County. His most prominent and challenging task was clear to capture the notorious outlaw, Billy the Kid. Billy the Kid, known by various names such as William H. Bonney, Henry McCarty, or Henry Antrim. His true identity remains a subject of historical debate. He was undeniably young, possessing a certain charm that could disarm. But he was also a hardened killer, a product of a violent time. He became deeply embroiled in the Lincoln County War. Pat Garrett's pursuit of Billy the Kid began with grim determination. As the newly elected sheriff, he was resolute in his mission. He quickly assembled a posse of tough, experienced men. He meticulously started tracking the Kid and the remnants of his gang. In the cold month of December 1880, Garrett received a valuable tip. The Kid and his companions were holed up at a remote, abandoned stone building. Garrett and his posse moved swiftly. They surrounded the dilapidated structure under the cover of darkness. A tense siege ensued. After a long, freezing night and with their food and ammunition dwindling, Billy the Kid finally made the decision to surrender. The captured Kid was transported to Mesilla, New Mexico. He was swiftly found guilty by the court. The relentless hunt had to begin all over again. The Kid's sensational escape from the Lincoln jail was a significant blow. It struck hard at Pat Garrett's professional pride. Garrett, stung by the previous failure, became even more relentless in his pursuit. He diligently gathered any scrap of information he could find. He had a strong hunch that the Kid might eventually return to Fort Sumner. Garrett decided to investigate this lead personally. Pat Garrett, accompanied by 2 of his trusted deputies, John W. Poe and Thomas Kip McKinney, arrived in the vicinity of Fort Sumner. It was late on the night of July 14, 1881. They cautiously made their way towards the Maxwell residence. Upon reaching the house, Garrett made a tactical decision. He instructed his deputies, Poe and McKinney, to wait quietly on the long, shadowy porch. He then proceeded to enter Pete Maxwell's darkened bedroom, alone. Suddenly, without warning, a figure materialized in the open doorway of the bedroom. The person was barefooted, holding a butcher knife and a revolver. It was, unmistakably, Billy the Kid. The Kid, peering into the gloom of the unlit room, was startled. He reportedly uttered, in Spanish, "¿Quién es? ¿Quién es?" Pat Garrett, however, instantly recognized the Kid's voice. He reacted with lightning speed. He drew his own Colt revolver. He fired 2 shots in rapid succession into the darkness. The legend was supposedly over. Section 5. Whispers in the Dust. Did Billy cheat death? The official story of Billy the Kid's demise was straightforward and seemingly conclusive. Pat Garrett, in the line of duty, had shot and killed the notorious outlaw. The encounter took place in Pete Maxwell's darkened bedroom. Yet, Almost as soon as the news of the kid's death began to spread like wildfire across the territory, whispers of doubt began to surface. Some people found it incredibly difficult to believe. The kid had always been portrayed as too clever, too cunning, too preternaturally lucky. How could he have been killed so easily, so unceremoniously? The profound darkness of the room, the suddenness and confusion of the events, all these factors combined to leave ample room for skepticism and alternative theories. The legend of Billy the Kid's survival took root and flourished. Many people simply wanted Billy to have lived. Stories began to circulate like tumbleweeds across the plains. Section 6. The Curious Case of Brushy Bill Roberts. Many decades passed. The legend of Billy the Kid, far from fading, continued to grow and capture the public imagination. Then, in the late 1940s, a surprising development occurred. An elderly man residing in the small town of Hico, Texas, stepped forward into the public eye. His name was Ollie L. Roberts, though he was more commonly known in his community as Brushy Bill. He made an astonishing and sensational claim. He asserted that he was, in fact, the real Billy the Kid. He declared that he had not died in Pete Maxwell's bedroom in Fort Sumner all those years ago. Instead, he had managed to escape that fateful night. He had subsequently lived a long, quiet life in hiding under an assumed identity. His claim immediately caused a stir and reignited public interest in the old mystery. Brushy Bill Roberts recounted a detailed and elaborate story to support his claim. He stated that Pat Garrett, contrary to the official record, had actually killed another man that night. He alleged that Garrett had then passed off this other victim as Billy the Kid. The motive, according to Brushy Bill, was for Garrett to collect the substantial reward money that was on the kid's head. Brushy Bill, now an old man, said he was seeking a full pardon. He wanted this pardon from the governor of New Mexico. His desire was to clear his name and set the record straight before he died. He recounted numerous specific events and details from the Lincoln County War. The debate over Brushy Bill Roberts' true identity continues to this day. Brushy Bill Roberts thus remains a fascinating and enigmatic footnote in the ever-evolving complex legend of Billy the Kid. Section 7. Pat Garrett, Life After the Legend. Immediately after killing Billy the Kid, Pat Garrett was widely, though not universally, hailed as a hero. He had successfully rid the New Mexico territory of one of its most notorious and feared outlaws. He duly collected the reward money that had been offered for the kid's capture or death. However, his newfound fame was a complicated and often burdensome thing. Some segments of the population, particularly those who had sympathized with the kid or viewed him as a romantic figure, openly resented Garrett. In the years that followed, Pat Garrett tried his hand at a variety of different professions and ventures. He moved to Texas for a period where he worked as a rancher. He even organized and captained a company of Texas Rangers. He eventually returned to New Mexico, the land that had defined so much of his life. Despite the fame that came with his association with Billy the Kid, Pat Garrett often faced significant financial difficulties throughout his life. He perpetually carried the immense weight of the kid's killing. Section 8. The Authentic Life of Billy, the Kid Garretts Narrative. Soon after the dramatic events at Fort Sumner, Pat Garrett made the decision to write a book. He felt a strong need to present his own version of the story to the public. He wanted to counter the increasingly romanticized and often wildly inaccurate stories about Billy the Kid that were already beginning to appear in newspapers and dime novels. To accomplish this, he collaborated with a man named Marshall Ashman Ash Upson. The resulting book was titled The Authentic Life of Billy the Kid. It was published in 1882. This book represented Garrett's determined attempt to control the narrative surrounding his most famous act. In his book, Pat Garrett, with Upson's assistance, portrayed Billy the Kid primarily as a dangerous and unrepentant criminal. He was depicted as a cold-blooded killer, far removed from any image of a romantic folk hero. Despite these potential shortcomings, the book was tremendously influential. It ensured that Pat Garrett's voice, his version of the truth, would be heard through the ages. Section 9, Echoes in Eternity, the legacy of an outlaw and his pursuer. Despite Pat Garrett's efforts to paint Billy the Kid as a villain, the kid's image as a popular figure has endured. He symbolizes rebellion, untamed freedom, and the wild spirit of the American West. His youth, audacious escape, and defiance contribute to his romantic appeal. Countless books, movies, and songs have been created about him. Each generation reinterprets his story through their own lens. Pat Garrett's legacy is more complicated and often viewed with ambivalence. He was a dedicated lawman who brought Billy the Kid to justice. Yet he is often remembered as the man who killed Billy the Kid. Their story demonstrates the influence of myth-making in shaping historical memory. The Wild West is an era heavily mythologized and romanticized. Their tale fits perfectly into this narrative framework. Media, from dime novels to Hollywood films, has shaped public perceptions. Their echoes resonate still deep in the heart of the American psyche. If you enjoyed this journey through the Wild West, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that bell icon for more tales of legendary outlaws and lawmen. Thanks for watching.